Yeah, and by the way, everybody listening, Andy does it the wrong way. He puts the dope on and then the tape.
That's why it's called dope and tape.
That's why it's called tape and dope.
It's not.
No, it's funny to disagree about that because it doesn't matter. Hey, we're on the air, everybody. Welcome to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Andy and Eric here. Real quick, housekeeping. Hit up the link below in the show notes on your podcast app, or if you're on YouTube, there's a link there as well. You can text us and send us feedback. We're always looking for those messages. Okay, there we go. That's the last I'm going to do that.
There you are.
Text us, give us a rating, you name it. Okay, now that's the last I'm going to do.
Right.
Oh, man. What have you been up to, man?
Not a heck of a lot. It's been kind of a weird spring, weird year for sales. I mean, we got plenty of stuff going on, but it's kind of weird. We've talked about this in the past where it's like 1 year you're like, it's all boilers, right?
Yeah.
Last year was our boiler year, right? I mean, we installed a pile of them in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
This year, just a little bit slower on the boiler side. And I don't know. We're selling them. I haven't had the request for it. And that's a little bit strange.
What about like water heaters, things like that? Other like sort of bigger ticket.
Well, just here in the last 2 weeks, I think I've sold 7 tankless water heaters. And I'm like, freaking bang, let's go.
What?
Yeah.
That's actually a lot.
It's a lot because we put one in like in November or something like that. Yeah. And then it was
that's a lot because you don't have 20 trucks on the road, right? Like the tankless accounts for like something like less than 10% of water heater sales. So like to sell 7 in a 2-week period, that's a lot.
Yeah. Granted, a pair of them are at a local Wendy's.
No, that's not
perfect.
Granted anything. Like that's just another scenario where these things shine, right?
Yep.
What do you think of that? What are you putting in?
We're putting, so this is my first CX. So we're doing a CXP and a CX common vented.
Those are Renai's.
Yeah.
The CX, that's commercial?
The commercial. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I opted to go that direction. I think one of the big feature differences is the CXs have a higher temperature setting.
You get the 140 out of the box?
Yeah, I think so.
140, 145.
Something like that.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
220, 221.
Whatever.
Do you know that reference, by the way? I say it, but I don't know that you know. Do you? Do you know it? I'm not calling you out in the sense that
I don't know where it's from.
Okay, for context, you'll remember it because you've seen the meme.
Okay.
But remember Michael Keaton, and he played a role in a movie called Mr. Mom?
Okay, yeah.
Like he loses his job. It's the 80s, first of all.
No,
I
vaguely
context.
Remember.
Yeah, he loses his job and he has to stay home with the kids.
Okay.
Oh my God, controversy abound. It's 1980 something. Yeah. And like, you can't imagine a guy staying home, and they made a comedy about it.
Right.
And it was funny at the time. There's a couple good lines in it because he's a good actor.
Right. And
he's got a good delivery. And he was talking to Bob, hey, Bob, the inspector or his buddy or something. And he's like, are you going to wire that outlet there? 110, 120. And he's like, yeah, 220, 221, whatever it takes. I don't know. He's doing all this work. It's just stupid. Yeah. I probably got it wrong anyway, but that's where it's from. So CXP, commercial, you get a higher temperature rating out of it. Well, ultimately, it's the right one for the job, right? Because you could put an RXP in there. They'll allow you to put it in a commercial application, but it changes the warranty and everything.
Yep, does change the warranty. And, price point, there were, I don't know, a couple $100, I think, or within $100 between like an RXP 199 and a CXP 199. So it wasn't like there was any significant cost increase to get them. We had to wait a little bit to get it.
I wonder if it's the same unit.
I did. Guess what I did order?
What?
Standoff brackets. I'm stoked about standoff brackets. That's going to be...
Okay, hold on. Yep. More housekeeping. You ready? Andy just said standoff brackets. I actually think, and it's getting a little bit of pub. It's not blowing up or anything. There's a video on our YouTube for Mechanical Hub.
Yep.
Where Andy and I are at AHR Expo. Where the heck was that this year?
Where were we?
Was it
Tampa?
I don't even know.
No.
Was it
Orlando?
Vegas? No, Orlando. That's what it was. Yeah. In Orlando. We got asked by Renai to come to the booth and make a video. And you and I walked through all of Renai's
Yeah.
stuff. The real important stuff, the stuff we care about
Yeah.
most. And one of the things that they came up with this year was a standoff bracket,
Right.
and you can see it in this video. Okay,
Yep.
go see the video. It's Andy and I on the cover of the thumbnail, and it's like we're in the Renai booth. There
Yep.
you go. Okay.
Anyway.
Standoff bracket. What is it going to do for you? What does that thing do?
Well, so that standoff bracket's pretty sweet. I think it gets you 2 inches. Don't quote me on that for sure, but basically you hang this bracket on the wall, or these 2 brackets on the wall, and the
Top and bottom, like it's the
bottom.
mounting bracket for it's the hanger mounting
Yeah.
bracket, and then there's one on the bottom.
Yeah,
because it pulls it off the wall a little
right.
bit.
And so basically you mount this upper bracket on the wall, you put the factory bracket onto it.
Okay.
And then there's a standoff on the bottom that holds that bottom flange, or the mounting flange on the bottom.
So
And-
your unit is plumb on the wall.
Correct. And that gives you a 2-inch pipe passage behind the units. Right. So
even if it's 1 inch, let's just say we don't know
Correct.
the exact dimension.
Yeah.
It allows you to take your 3/4 inch supply to the
Yep.
unit and run it on the
Yep.
wall behind the heater.
Yep.
So you don't need additional wall space left or right.
Correct. And in this particular case, I have like a 42-inch deep closet. Both of these units are on one side. And in that closet, I have, on that same wall, I have the recirc, my hot supply going out, and then a pair of like CO2 lines from bulk CO2 storage that happen to go through
for
this
the
room.
soda dispenser.
Yeah. And they go through this room, and they're on that wall, and so I've got to straddle all that stuff. So right now we have a couple of RL94s in there, older Renais.
Yeah.
And those CO2 lines are like in between the 2 units. So
Well, of course.
it's going to be a little bit of a pain, but
Are the CO2s, are those just like a hose material? Yeah.
yeah. And I may be able to move them. We may move them out of the way.
A
I'm
little bit
not
if
sure,
they got enough slack in them.
yeah.
Those standoff brackets are like the whole concept. When I saw it, we were at the show.
Yeah.
And where have these been forever?
For 40 years.
Well, how many units have these tankless water heater companies sold into the
Yeah.
entire world, for God's sakes? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Now it took like till 2025, Renai's like, oh, hey, by the way, why not use one of these?
I'm baffled.
Like, I think I should just buy one.
Right. Well, I'm baffled that like Diversitech or Rector Seal or somebody hasn't came up with that as a just an accessory for a generic.
I totally agree with you.
Right?
I didn't even think about that. That makes total sense. Why haven't they? Like the Supco or something like that. Like, I don't know if they're getting into that kind of thing, but
I don't know.
Diversitech makes the most sense. You're right.
Sure. Like unit heater brackets and stuff. But
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
So we got standoff brackets ordered. We are going to common vent. Because right now I've got 2 of the 3x5 or the 2x5 coaxial, 2x4 coaxials, whatever the old.
So you're going to use one, you're going to use them both, but one is intake, one is exhaust.
Yep. And so we're playing with a thing here.
How are you going to adapt over to them?
Well, we're going to get rid of them out through the roof.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
We'll get rid of the coax. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't.
No, I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I should
but
say talk.
One of the things that we're running into is I'm not so sure we haven't had some flue gas recirculation. Being a fast food restaurant, the roof is like trash for air. Right.
Yeah. How close is it to the?
It's a little ways, but I mean, it's a Wendy's. It's not huge, So I mean, it's, Anyway, it'll be it's going to be fine. But what we're going to do, and this is after conversations with a handful of contractors and a couple of manufacturers who will go unnamed, who have basically said, hey, we've had people do this and it's been successful as a maintenance item. And so what I've got, and so we're going to Rube Goldberg this thing.
Oh boy.
I've got it's like a 16 by 18, 8-inch deep plastic junction box, like a hinged junction box, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So inside
That
that,
thing probably costs like $127 too, but
not quite that much, like 70.
yeah, well, okay, that's same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For effect, that was my
Yeah.
number
So
I chose, but
yeah,
you
large.
look at that and you're like, why does this cost so much?
Right. So large plastic box with a hinge cover. And
Okay.
inside this box, I am going to mount, or I'm going to basically drill a hole through the bottom of this box.
Yeah.
And we're putting a 4-inch K&N air filter in it.
For the intake?
For the intake. And then on top, we're going to have a 3-inch pipe coming in that's going to be directly ducted outside. And what I'm trying to, and I don't know if this thing is an epic fail, it'll be something we can remove and connect the 2 3-inch lines together, and it is what it is.
Isn't there a filter system for intakes on like, isn't there something like this that exists?
There are. And so it only exists from the boiler manufacturer on a couple of brands.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking of.
And so I'm looking at it going, well, let's try this, right? Because one of the biggest challenges that we have with these two Renais in particular, and it has nothing to do with the fact they're Renais. Yeah. It has everything to do with the fact that they burn a boatload or they run a lot to make hot water, and they're pulling trash air off the roof.
Well, but what do you mean trash? I mean,
just it's greasy, it's smoky, it's dusty.
Do you think that air filter is going to do anything for that?
I think it will.
Okay.
And we service these Renais every 6 months. We go in and descale and do a cleaning, and then we change igniter flame rod every year.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we've done on these. There's a couple of these restaurants in Missoula, and we've had good success with it, keeping hot water going for them.
You're going to try to filter the air
going into it. We're going to try and filter the air going into it and see how it works on this one. And if it works, then I may contemplate doing some more of this type of thing on some of our Wiesmans. I've heard, and I don't know the reality to it, I don't have any scientific proof, that some of the coffee ground residue that we get inside of a combustion chamber, obviously it changes throughout the country, right? Because you get less of it than I do. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's whatever contaminants sulfur in your gas, sulfur in your gas." I had one of the boiler manufacturers here recently tell me it's highly or directly related to pollen, and the more pine trees you have, and the more high pollen content areas you have, you'll get more of that. And so he's got a customer who installs boilers and was like, I'm going to try this, and switched over their intakes to room air with, like a K&N air filter or some other type of, microfiber air filter. And that stuff basically was eliminated.
So I wonder if you could get like on my zero turn has this big, like round tubular cylindrical, filter in line for the intake for the engine, right? Wonder if you could get something like that. It's just like a Dayton brand filter. It's just a pleated cloth, high grade filter, right? Like things will last for years.
Well, I found on Amazon, and this is where I'm going to start, just because it's a test at this point. There's a filter that's got like a rubber clamp base, so it's like a cone shaped filter.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say 1 second.
Exactly. I know what you're talking about.
Let me grab it.
It's like a bullet head. Andy's not in the studio anymore. He just walked away. It's the first time it's ever happened. I think he's mad at me. He can't hear me right now either, which makes this even more fun because it's the first solo episode. Oh, he's back. He's back. Stop talking about him. Okay, don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
So right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So filtered on the inside, filter outside. This rubber base has a series of rubber adapters to go to like 3 different sizes.
So you can get it to fit on a piece of 3-inch. Okay.
And so this was like $18.
You're going to share that link with us and we can put it. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I'm going to stick this inside this plastic enclosure. So it's still direct vented. It's gasketed, right?
Why does it have to be because of rain?
Right. And so, well, I want the enclosure is going to go in the building, right? And so it's got a clear door on it, so we'll be able to see this. I think I'm going to probably throw, just for this first one, I'm going to probably, I have an old, not an old, but I have a Magna Helic differential gauge that I think I'm going to plumb into this thing just so
Oh
we
my
can
gosh.
watch differential pressure.
This is getting
I know. Well,
this is getting Bill Nye kind of
right.
stuff
Well,
going
what
on
I don't
here.
want to do is I don't want to put this thing on there and be like, oh, this is going to be great for the combustion air. And then all of a sudden we have all these combustion failures because I got too much restriction on my combustion air inlet.
You're gonna get a bunch of C11s or whatever.
So, whatever. Yeah.
So you're putting in the CXP.
CXPs. Yep.
I've put in a few of the RXPs.
Yeah.
I did have one failure.
Yeah.
I did. Renai took care of it, like no questions asked. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like the easiest. It was a honestly 4-minute conversation with tech support.
Huh.
They're like, okay, here's the number. I emailed you all the information you need. They sent me the number I needed to go to my wholesaler and say we need a replacement, and it was the flue gas gasket on the collector box coming out of the unit. Look, this is starting to this isn't like an epidemic. I'm not pointing a finger at the manufacturer saying it's bad. Like Renai doesn't want me to say this, right? But the fact is I'm seeing this on other products too. I think they're really, the engineering and manufacturing on these things is really pushing the envelope to try to get these things way more efficient. They're trying to put them in so you can have like way longer vent lengths and all this stuff. And I think what we're finding out is maybe there's a little limitation on some of the components to help this all work together. And that's one of them. It was no big deal. Honestly, the swap out, I pride myself a little bit in this. I will probably put the tankless water heater in, and it will look the same from every single job, one to the another, to another, to like I can go in and I can tell you I'm gonna break a union on the 3/4 inch iron pipe gas line that I like pre-pipe out of the unit for a certain amount of foot, like I can hang this thing on the wall and it's ready to like boom, boom, done. Yep. And so I don't know what I'm trying to say. I went in there, I changed that thing out. It was like 25 minutes. I had the new one plugged in, water back on. Yeah. It took me longer to purge the air out of the lines and the recirc return than it did to like hang it on there, reconnect it. But anyway, nonetheless, nice units though.
They are
nice units. I think everybody's making a good tankless these days.
Yeah,
I really do. What are some of the things you like? You were talking though before we hit record. Something you like about them? I'm gonna let you say it because I agree with you. But it's it's a good little tip.
It's like one of those little I don't know, one of those little things that you go, oh, that's cool, that's nice.
Yeah,
and that is their MIVK, I think, is what their code is on that. It's their tankless install valve kit. Right, doesn't come in the box. Just to be clear,
you got to buy it.
You got to buy it.
They offer a couple different valve kits, by the way.
Two specifically. One is your hot cold with a relief valve, right?
Yep.
Unique thing about these valves is the female nut that goes on the bottom of the unit, instead of it being a union with a gasket, that you've got dope tape, put the union half on.
Instead of it being a 2-part union.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a captive female nut with a gasket. It is the easiest, quickest,
think about a brass version of a toilet supply line nut or faucet supply line nut.
It's basically pretty cool.
It is. It is cool. I 100% agree with you. Yep. I have noticed it each time, but I didn't think about it until you brought it up this morning. And I'll tell you what, I love stuff that just makes it easier. And that thing, I mean, it's solid brass.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can hand tighten it because it's a rubber gasket. You do not need to put a wrench on that, by the way.
Right.
You can, but it just like done. Yep. And if you're not watching video, I went with my hand like.
Just make sure you make that noise, and that'll be.
Yeah. If you make the noise, you're going to be 100%.
Do not dope and tape this. Just FYI, it does not need it.
I know. I think I did in my video when I did on that RXP. Well, I think it's just
habit.
It's like muscle memory, right? It's
especially when the units,
why would I not?
Yeah, units on the bench or it's sitting on the. Then you're like, oh, I'm going to tape and dope all these fittings or all these males. Yeah.
I totally, yeah. And by the way, everybody listening, Andy does it the wrong way. He puts the dope on and then the tape.
That's why it's called dope and tape.
That's why it's called tape and dope.
That's not.
No, it's funny to disagree about that because it doesn't matter.
You know, what's hilarious. So I've over the years, you know, I mean, I've had how many conversations have you had about it, you know?
Yeah.
And when it was probably in the last year, Tristan and I were having a conversation about something, and we were putting stuff together, and he had made the comment, and I looked at him, I said, you know what? I don't care how you do it. There's the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I said, and the wrong way is when it leaks. The right way is when it doesn't. And if you do it the right way and it doesn't leak, then we're good.
Yeah. But look, my way, it doesn't. I mean, I always dope it or tape it and then dope. Right. The conversation for me comes up when I'm talking to somebody like, you know, they're looking for a pointer. Like maybe they're not a plumber.
Sure.
You know, and they're like, oh, I saw in your video, like you use both tape and dope. And I'm like, yeah. And I never think about it. And the reason why is that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
And it has always worked for me. And I guess it's just easier because I don't have to tighten it so hard.
Right.
Like that's been the thing for me. I never really thought about it until this guy brought it up just the other day.
Right.
Standing on my driveway, he needed a fitting. He's a pipe fitter. He didn't, you know, he doesn't work for himself. He needed a press fitting. He borrowed the press tool and he was fixing his dad's sprinkler line. I'm like, yeah, he's totally cool. And he's like, he watches the videos and he's like, I saw you use tape and dope. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, we always just use dope. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's the problem. You can't get crap apart 20 years from now.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yep.
Either way, they're lubricants, right?
Sure. You're gonna be crucified for saying that they're lubricants.
I know, but that's what they are.
Come on,
lubricants.
Come at me, Facebook.
They lubricate the tapered threads so that they're easier to thread together, and to the point in which they have created a seal.
Call it.
I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to die on that sword.
I will die on that sword with you.
Yes. It you know, look, do they seal it? I mean, some of them are way better than others. Like I can use that 577 Loctite.
Yeah.
Ooh, God, that stuff's good, isn't it?
If it didn't smell so bad.
Yeah, well, you can put pipe together by hand with that stuff though. Yeah. Like that stuff's legit.
And it takes such a small amount.
Yeah, you don't need very much at all.
Like
just on the first, you know, like the second thread in, just throw it in there.
Yep.
Boom.
If you open the lid and squeeze it till a little bit comes out and then close the lid, that's enough to do like a 1-inch joint.
Yeah, and it doesn't leak.
No.
Where did I go? Oh, repeatable. So like every one of them, it takes like just 2 seconds to put on.
Yep.
And then you had the captured nut on the valves. I like that. Yep. It's a union. It's a rubber gas. I like that kind of seal personally, but you got to kind of know, you got to get a feel for them. Like I said, you got to go, you know, like barely touch it with your, you know, your channies or whatever you're using.
Yep.
And you don't need to crank stuff. I think that's where people get it wrong on rubber gaskets, personally.
Yeah.
Speaking of rubber gaskets, there's you know it, I know it, but does everybody else know it? Like if you're in heating or you're in plumbing, Caleffi did something last year or the year before or something like that. And it's not new to the industry at all. Because if you think about it, there's been, tankless water heater kits have been out there like this before, but they added to all of their union fittings.
Yeah.
They added what they call posi stops. So then they machine the face of these unions and they put a small O-ring in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your seal. And no dope, no nothing. You just literally just hand tighten these things together. No more than that.
Right.
Because you're compressing an O-ring that's so small already. This just tiny, tiny amount, like half the thickness of this small O-ring is what you're compressing.
Right.
No leaks.
Nothing.
And they were solving a huge problem that they had in their catalog. They did, and they admitted it. They had those paper gaskets. How many videos did I put out on Instagram dating back 10 years saying, hey, soak your gaskets?
Yep. Yeah, because it says so in the manual.
Well, you have to. Those paper gaskets, you can't over-tighten them, and they have to be pliable.
Right.
How many times did you over-tighten them and have leaks?
Quite a few times.
For sure I did. 100% I did. I'm not even going to pretend I didn't.
Yeah. I remember back to the times, when, I don't know, it's got to be 15 or more years ago when Watt's, like 9Ds, the
Yeah, and they
little
had that plastic thing.
vented backflows had the paper washers in
Oh
there.
yeah, paper. Yeah.
And now they're the plastic, which when they first started doing the plastic, I was like, how's that going to seal up? It's freaking water line and it worked fine.
You know what that was? The plastic.
It was PTFE.
Lubricant.
Mm.
What did he say?
Yeah.
He's talking lubricants on Threads again. No, there's some out there that aren't. There's some rubber seals out there that aren't good. Like I'm not a big fan of a certain low loss header that has these rubber seals. I don't ever want to throw anybody under the bus. I already said something about Renai that they're not going to be happy about, but it's the reality. It's not the big deal. I think it was a one-time incident. Or I don't think it doesn't appear to be a problem moving forward. But the ease of which they've started making these products.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them have been out there for a long time. Going on that Caleffi thing, I love the angle mix valve.
Right.
And I don't want this to turn into a Caleffi commercial, but I mean, they make great products.
Yeah.
And we've said that so many times. That angle mix to me is a fantastic mixing valve because it eliminates like just a couple fittings.
Yep.
It seems to fit everywhere I want it to better than every other mixing valve I've ever had.
Yeah.
It comes with unions on it that have that posi stop on it now, which just make it even better.
Well, and I think what I like about that, both Webstone and Caleffi have gone to great lengths to make these little accessories, right?
Yes.
I mean, I've got one sitting here on the bench. This little thermometer attachment, G union on both sides. And that's like that Caleffi on the angle mix. You can get it with or without the thermometer, not thermostat.
Yeah, the T that has the well in it. And
And it's just kind of like you put the thing on there and it's like click, click, done, done. I mean, I don't have to think about how tight it is or nothing. You line it up and just bump the nut and you're done.
It's effortless and there's so much benefit to it.
Yeah.
If they make it easy, I'm willing to spend a little bit extra.
Right.
And then I just need to convince my suppliers to stock that item versus a lower cost without little trick, Yeah. Like it's like the autofill valves for your boiler. Now I know we do a lot of the glycol feeders just to replace it.
Yeah.
But every once in a while you're putting in an autofill, just a standard boiler autofill. And if it doesn't have a gauge on it, like the Caleffi one, you can order the same model with or without a pressure gauge on it.
Right.
And there's the tapping on the one without the pressure gauge. And you pay like $14 less for it.
Yeah.
And there's a plug in the tapping. And I look at that and go, I mean, it's just a benefit right off the beginning to see what the pressure is. So like, I don't have to worry about some other gauge in the system.
Right.
It's just right there.
Well,
it just makes why would you not buy that one? But then the problem is getting them to stock the more expensive item.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. If you go back in anybody that's spent any time working on boilers, right? We'll just pick on boilers to start with. From 0 to 100, what number do you say is your confidence rating that the tridicator or theraltimeter or pressure temperature gauge that's on your boiler, what is your confidence that pressure is actually what the pressure is in the system?
Well, it's not high.
Like 20s?
Every one of them. Look, I'm not even saying that the gauge at the fill valve is going to be accurate years from now. I'm just saying without it, you're getting up to what you're saying. Now, what you're saying is a real thing. Like, do I trust that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I trust it better than the numbers that are printed on the side of the fill valve.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, that's just like a suggestion. Hey, put it here and it's going to be 15 pounds. Is it?
Yeah. But
it's pretty close with a good valve.
I think I remember the very first pressure reducing valve for years, right? Years and years I installed Watts 25 AUBs.
Okay.
Only thing we installed here because that was what you could get, right?
Yeah.
That was what the supply house had. Every supply house had 25 AUB or the Combraco equivalent or whatever. Then we got Apollo. So now there's a smattering of other variants in there. the very first, I think Honeywell may have even sent it to me. It was a Honeywell Bachmann or Residio 1-inch PRV, and it came with a gauge. Just threaded, nothing super fancy.
Yeah.
And I remember putting that thing in going, this gauge on the outlet is like, this is like sliced bread.
I know.
How freaking nice is this? Right?
Caleffi's PRVs are that way too.
Yeah.
And they have unions on them.
And you put it in and you're like, oh my God, this is so nice.
I know.
Like,
I know.
It's like, it's like going in from like the Geo Metro to jumping into a Mercedes, and you're like,
it's like buying a car.
Feel that.
It's like buying like it's like you bought a Jeep and the originals didn't come with a top on it. And then you got the first one with a roof and you're like, oh my God, it's so much better.
I can actually hear myself think.
Yeah, I can drive this in the rain. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I mean, there's so many things out there. We couldn't even possibly begin to talk about all the nice little things that we like so much, but the things that make your job easier. I love that idea of that standoff bracket. I mean, I don't know what's the topic of this episode even? We're just talking.
Just rando.
It's just talking. That's kind of what we do sometimes. It's fun. We probably got to wrap her up and call her a day and tell everybody thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get to work because we do this before we work, which is just makes my day so much better. Now I get to go think about all the things we talked about. I'm going to think about how I'm going to filter the intake air on my, I do have a couple units I can think of that have some issues with bugs and tree, like the cottonwood and stuff like that. I got a couple customers that are like in the woods, and
I'm curious.
They have some serious issues, but I'm worried more about this filter becoming a problem and like clogging or something like that. I don't know.
I agree. And then I went, okay, on your vehicle, how often do you clean your air cleaner, right? And there's got to be a whole bunch more volume of air moving through that filter in a vehicle than
none less important though. I mean, we can't have a reduction in airflow in a boiler or a gas burner because these things are so sensitive. But so it's not less important.
And that's where I'm going with the gauge thing. I'm curious, and I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to have an impact. If it does, if I look at it and I'm like, oh, you know what, with one unit running and I've got a 1/2 of an inch of pressure drop across it, and I might contemplate pulling the thing out. I don't know.
You're going to be measuring that in pascals. All right. Let's wrap her up, guys. Thanks for listening.
Later.
See you, man.